that's myself, first term. And then we have the 4 departments. External relations and legal affairs that the director, Mr. Talib, my colleague, is here. And also our strategic planning and program management. And then education training and state-based management, and also financial administration. So mainly we have the 4 departments and 4 functions. So here is now we have this year we have the new chairman of the council. Since our mechanism says that every 2 years our member state will in change in the chairmanship. So exactly now is Mr. Ma Xingrui, the administrator of Chinese National Space Agency, is our chairman. And then we have the 2 vice chairmen, one Iran and others, the Mongolia. This is the head of the secretary and also 4 departments. They all coming from different member states. But mainly I would like to introduce some cooperative activities that main purpose and also all interested in these areas. So we have a long-term vision mission and also development planning. So that may be some details you can get the information from our booth. And typically we have some in different areas, some projects. The first is we started our remote sensing data sharing. This is in principle all member states will contribute their satellite data. And after a while we established our data sharing platform in the internet, basically in the website, and then all member states can download what they need the remote sensing data. So up to now, it's mainly Chinese and also other member states donated the data already. And after that, we have the pilot project using our own data from our database. So we currently selected 4 from different departments of member states in the culture, the growing management, in the desert and the storm, and also the some drought and plant monitoring pilot. So they are asking by the different member states and leading by their own. So APSCO we're supporting that for member states. And also the second is we have the planning in our own the remote sensing satellite. And the other side is we have the space optical space observation system is mainly for the in-orbit object like satellites to monitor and follow our own satellite, and also could be using in the debit monitoring in the orbit, but mainly currently it's low orbit. And then the next is we're working on the navigation areas, but mainly we're concerning what the terminals or the compatible technology using on the navigation terminal systems. Since you all know that we have different worldwide constellations, typically GPS and also GLONASS, but China they developed that Beidou system and also in Europe the Galileo. But all member states they interested in different constellations, so we're developing that kind of the technology for using different systems together and to make the high precision and also good applications. So that's the principle. Sorry. This is some our member state leading for the terminal technology development. That is also different. We have under this navigation we have the different projects in the R&D stages now. But all is leading and implemented in the member state. The other side is space science, we call that, but it's basically some research topic for the interesting from member states. And this project started from the communication signal in K-band in the transmission and across the atmosphere, what's the factor, and that will be used in the next communication satellite among the member states. And also we're talking about the communication satellite, reducing the in orbit slots and the frequency resources for member states contributed, and using the common satellites. And also their applications. We have some special project concerning on that. And some other researches mainly concerning the earthquake and what the prediction or early warning technology can use that. since most of our member states and Asian areas, the country, they suffered on the earthquake, especially China. They're going to planning the satellite, so we want to share the technologies. And also including some potentially different payload degradation projects. So all these projects were mainly is around 10 started in the different stages: implementation, split study, and also the starting discussion. But the other areas is education and training. So that's all requested by the member states. So we have the short training program, and also we have the master and doctor style program. And up to now, every year we have at least 2 short training in the duration of the 2 weeks. And also we have the 20 master students program from all member states studying in China. But now it's the Chinese Scholarship Commission, they donated these opportunities for all member states. And also from this year, we have every year we have the 5 doctor style degree students from member states. So totally around the 50 students studied now here under the ASCO's name. And then also we have the exchanging in the technical side. We call it international symposium every year in different member states. So this year, next month we'll call our member states in Turkey to hosting our 5th international symposium on remote sensing and G certifications. And also under the education training side, we all member states interested on the student satellite. So we have the meeting and the mechanisms started and discussion focus on these areas, already started that. I think it's a time short, but I give you all this in mainly information. But in the conclusion side, I would like to say that ASCO is typically international multi-level cooperation mechanism. And that could be a very good future for all these areas, Asian Pacific countries, to join that and to share their resources, knowledges, and also funding the common interest projects. And mainly in this process, the Chinese government taking the leader role and contributed and donated, hosted the headquarters here, and also our organization. I believe we're benefiting from Chinese developing in the area, in the space areas. So finally, I would like to show that APSCO will welcome any interested country to join us and with the project cooperation and even to join our organization. I listed some questions, maybe you're interested, I'm privileged to answer that. So our booth is here, invited to again. Thank you.
Later on, we'll see it. And the next speaker will be Professor Wu. And Professor Wu, the floor is yours, please.
Yes, thank you for the moderator. Later on, people realize when the sun is changing its pressures, the solar wind is changing, the whole magnetosphere is breathing, is changing also. In order to measure the structure of the magnetosphere, you have to use multiple satellites, not only one satellite. You have to when you cross the boundary, you have to recognize it's a time variation or you are crossing a boundary. Next, please. And next, please. And in this way, there's a big mission. It's called a cluster from ESA, and they will send 4 spacecraft together and flying in a polar orbit across the magnetosphere and measuring the space. Next, please. And a little bit later, China, there's one professor in our center is proposed 2 satellite mission. It's called Double Star, and we will do the same. But yes, next please. And in order to have more satellites measuring the magnetosphere, we were discussing together with ESA that we probably will use another kind of orbit and place our satellite in a different way. So then we will have multiple point measurement across the geospace. So you see the blue dot are the double star, are the cluster satellite, and the red ones, the 2 red ones are the double star. So we have 60-point measurement across the geospace. Here you see the contributions from China and from Europe. And we have China provide 2 launchers and 2 spacecraft, and European countries provided 8 payload for double star mission, which roughly 50% of the payload are coming from the IAC countries. So it's a good collaboration also between programs and also maximal measurement opportunities altogether. Next, please. And if you see the publications from both double star and cluster, and after double star launched, the publication didn't really go up. And after a cluster launch, and double star was launched in 2003 and 2004, and you see after double star launched, we have more publications, which means these are 2. When you add 2 programs together, you can produce more. So it's a 1 + 1 greater than 2 situation. Next, please. We have also got a very nice award from IAA, International Academy of Astronautics, in 2010. Next, please. So this is one example. I'm talking about another example, is similar situation, and China have no chance to go to Mars before 2011. And if you look at the spacecraft sent to Mars, is getting a little bit slowed down in the 80s and then coming back again. Next, please. And if you look at the Martian missions, and a lot of failure in the early time, they couldn't even get to the Mars surface or orbiter gravity field. And only recently there are a lot of successful missions. So China would like to join this campaign also. Next, please. And we have studied in the previous data, and if you have a look at the Mars environment measurement, there are only a few missions, and many of them they are lacking data. Either they have a magnetometer Mars orbit, but very large elliptical orbit. But with this large elliptical orbit, we might have a chance to measure the Mars space environment, to cross all the boundaries of a Mars space environment. Next, please. Using yes, please stay here. And these are the measurements of the Mars ionosphere using occultation between the Mars satellite and the ground station measurement of the Mars ionosphere. Next, please. So with a focus ground, we could reach this orbit with a very high upward margin, 80,000 kilometers, and very low parallel margin. But we can do a lot of things. Next, please. Please continue. And our spacecraft only 150 kilo, and we have a good chance to go together with the Phobos ground. Next, please. And with the ground support also from Russian, from ESA, and China also have our own ground station. So this is a truly international collaboration missions. Next, please. But of course, as you know, we have accident with the launch of Phobos ground. Otherwise, we will have data now. But this doesn't matter. It's still international collaboration, and we are taking the risk together. Next, please. So, sensitive. It's not like defense, so we can sit together. The scientists are very easily to talk to each other. Secondly, on space science, we would like to avoid any duplication. So if you have mission to measure this, we will not measure this again. We will measure something else. So we are saving money, and we are avoid duplications. And the third factor is the budget for space science is always limited. And our German colleagues and Luxembourg colleagues has taken some examples. I would say there's my example are more concerning between programs. So if you collaborate to each other, you're really again it's a win-win situation. So it must be 1 + 1 greater than 2. So this is the basic of collaboration. And secondly, if you do collaboration within other people's systems, like you're launching together with them, or you're putting your payload with other countries, you do need transparency. You do need very close relations. There are a lot of details. you should be a friend. Otherwise, you cannot collaborate on the system level. So we are inviting all the international partners to join us. And currently, we have very good relation with ISA and more European countries, and also with Russia. And the two examples I'm taking is with ISA and Russia. And we need to inform, to enhance our collaboration with the US, with Japan, with India, and other space countries also. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts to keep the time limit, though you provided a very resourceful and informative PPT. I'm sure later on you will have opportunities to further elaborate your points. Thank you so much. And the next speaker will be Vice President Hu, and he's from China Great Wall Industry Corporation. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Yao. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would like to express our appreciation to all the speakers here to join the session for this very helpful discussion. Actually, today, many audience here, some people, I see familiar faces. They may be our customers, our partners of China Great Wall Industry Corporation, but some of you may not know too much about our company. Our company actually was established in 1980. We are the sole commercial company authorized by the Chinese government to provide commercial launch services, space cooperation, and also to conduct all kinds of cooperation in the area of space. So basically, we act ourselves as a kind of gateway between China and the foreign partners in space cooperation. And I heard the term interface. So for Great Wall, we play a kind of role at the interface between this kind of international cooperation. This is a development history of China's commercial activities. You can see since May 1980s, when Chinese government announced to promote the Chinese space products to international customers, we have experienced more than 20 years. So our first commercial launch was conducted in 1990. So that was a kind of Chinese launch of the US-built satellite for Asian customer, really an international program. And then we also have some kind of difficulties because of the legal restrictions imposed by like the US. We're not able to conduct many launches for our customer. We have good launchers. Well, launchers, I mean, they are reliable and also very competitive in the market, but we have some difficulties to provide these services to the customers in the market. Then we have a partner in Europe. They are able to develop some kind of unrestricted satellite that help us to provide services to our customers. And then currently, our main business is to provide a kind of package. Could you go back one side? To provide a package solution to our customers. That means we provide Chinese satellite launch services, ground infrastructure to the customers. So this kind of turnkey solution is really for customers which do not have many experiences in the space area. So we are quite successful in this area. I will talk later about this kind of business model. So these are the main commercial activities we are now promoting to the international customers. We provide launch services, which we have over 20 years, and also we provide services to customers, not only dedicated launch for the geostationary satellite, but also provide piggyback services like our customer LuxSpace. So, because nowadays you can see China's space activities is becoming quite intensive. So every year around 20 launches are planned for the next few years. So this means there are more piggyback opportunities for our partners which are interested in using the Chinese launch services. And for communication satellite, we developed the DFH4 bus, which is now compatible to the major product in the market. So we have customers mostly in the developing countries, but also we are promoting our products to the established satellite operators. For remote sensing satellite, we just started to provide this kind of product. So last year, we successfully delivered our first Chinese-built remote sensing satellite to our customer in Venezuela. We are quite proud of that. For this chart, we got the information from a consulting company in Europe, Euroconsult. They do a kind of analysis they ranked China as the number one supplier for the national communication satellite systems. As I mentioned that we provide a kind of package solution to our customers, which combine all the satellite, launch services, ground structure, and also insurance. Sometimes they need our financial support. So in this kind of package solution, the customer need only to interface with only one entity in China. They do not need to procure services from here and then procure another service from another supplier. So this is really a convenient and very helpful way to help the customer to start their business. Actually, beyond this kind of commercial activities, as Professor Wu and Dr. Zhang Wei, they mentioned about the other kind of cooperation between China and the other foreign partners. Are listed like China-Brazil Earth Resources Satellite, and yesterday you may have attended the panel that the Brazilian Space Agency talked about the history of the China-Brazil Earth Resources Satellite cooperation, which dates back to 1980s. So this is a long history. And also you can see some other programs in the navigation and also the space science cooperation. France and German, all this kind of cooperation, I think really are helpful to both sides, are beneficial. In the future, I would say, in addition to the space product we offer to the market, that include the satellite or the launch services, and also sometimes we provide training. That is the kind of human resources development. Many countries, they have the intention to develop their own space industry. So from China, we can share our experiences with them. I think this is also beneficial for those countries who are interested to become a spacefaring nation. And I think in the future, there are also some other areas there may be more opportunities, like human space exploration. Last week there was a UN workshop in Beijing. At the workshop, the China Manned Space Agency, they announced China's intention to train astronauts for foreign countries. I think this is a really good start. And also CMSA, they also have the intention to work with foreign partners on the future Chinese space station. I don't know whether that is the model of international space station, but actually China would not work alone. They would like to have partners in this regard. And also for the deep space exploration, Professor Wu yesterday also gave a presentation about a lot of programs which may have foreign partners. I think this is really the good opportunity. For navigation, China's Beidou system has been put into initial operation. This is now a regional operation covering Asia-Pacific region, but I think by 2020, when the system is becoming global, there will be more opportunities for all partners all over the world. From my perspective, from a kind of a commercial company's perspective, if we can give some tips to the people, to our partners who are interested in working with Chinese space enterprises, I think there may be some questions you should ask yourself when you want to have this kind of cooperation. First one is like, who you are going to talk about? Who is who? I think that I heard a lot of questions from many potential customers and partners. They ask, hey, what is CNSA and what is CMSA? So just only the difference between one letter, but they are in charge of different subjects. And also like CAS, COD, CAS, but who is responsible for what? So there are so many Chinese organizations doing different things. So I think you may understand the Chinese space structure first, and then to look for the right partner you are expecting. And also, you should think about what you are going to do. What is your expectation? We heard some comments from partners in the developing country. They say, okay, China is quite developed in space area. We want to learn from you. With one program, we want to establish all our space industry. We want to build our own satellite just within 2 or 3 years. And even a bigger, very big communication satellite. I think this is kind of expectation which may not be so realistic. Should be a step-by-step approach. And also, you should do is through what way, how to proceed, implement this kind of cooperation. As I say, and also many panelists also talk about to find the right interface to work with China, to find the right expertise. So China's culture, civilization may be different from the Western countries, and also not be so familiar with our partners in developing countries. But you need a kind of bridge, interface to do this kind of thing. So I would say, if in the future you may come to China Great Wall, so we are familiar with all the parties in the space industry. We can be a right interface for you to cooperate with China. And also, when you do this kind of a planning, you also have to think about what kind of risks or barriers which may exist in the process of cooperation. I mean, even if the cooperation between, like for example, between China and Europe, there may be some other international rules we have to follow. Because by the nature of space, it is the dual-use technology. We have to follow the government and international regulations. And we may be subject to some unwanted controls. But that is the reality. So we have to identify these risks and barriers. And last, Rome is not built in one day. You have to be patient. So it takes time. Sometimes you have to go through a long government procedures, especially for the international cooperation, especially for space. That is our life. So we have to be realistic, be patient. So last summary, I would say with very significant resources invested by the Chinese government, there may exist a lot of opportunities in the future for the space cooperation between China and foreign partners. And also China is open to this kind of operation. So I think in the future, we are a Great Wall company, the commercial company, we also to be a kind of facilitator to this kind of cooperation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Fu. Thank you for your wonderful introduction of the Great Wall Corporation, which is, of course, the flagship corporation in the space industry. And particularly, it's very useful. You offer some of the very good tips for a successful potential cooperation with China. Okay, I should appreciate all the panelists that are doing an excellent job, and particularly keeping the time list. And I think I'll kick off one or two questions and give the audience some time to prepare your questions. And the first, maybe I'll ask Mr. Guppy a question. How do you organize your space activities, and what is the role of DLR? And also, do you have any future plan to work with China?
Thank you very much. I think I will answer in three steps. First, I would like very much your last slide with the questions. Do you know who is who? Do you know what is to do? That are the main questions you have to answer and what can they contribute to the program. But when I answer your question, I would like to first tell a little bit about Germany's space industry. We have two main companies, it's Astrium and OHB. They are well known, but we have a second layer of small and medium sized companies, about 80 companies, and they are only space companies. They serve the international markets, but they are based in Germany. The home market is the most important for them. Then we have another layer, a third layer of companies which their main markets are outside of space. They are suppliers for automotive or aeronautics, and they have only 10 or 15% of their revenues coming from the space industry. All of them, we look to all of them, to the three layers as space industry in Germany. Besides of this, we have a great number of universities and non-university research facilities and institutes, and they are not only, some of them are not only researchers, they build their own instruments. Not their own spacecrafts, but the instruments. So they are not only scientists. So that's the structure of the industry in Germany. And what's the role of DLR? DLR is a double-headed entity. On the first way, we are researchers. DLR has about 7,000 employees, and most of them are researchers in space and aeronautics. Then the second head of DLR is we are the German Space Agency. And in my presentation, I told you something about the three main tasks, the jobs we have to do. That is strategy and the national budget. And giving money to ESA, which is the most important. The role of the agency is we are responsible for all state activities, and we fund the German activities. All the universities and small and medium-sized companies, they have not enough money to invest in basic technologies. So they ask us for supporting them. And we are also, if it's necessary, the partner who is looking for international partners for the small and medium-sized companies. And so we have this mixed role. Funding projects, being a moderator, facilitator in the between German and international companies and so on. And the future between Germany and China, I think we have very good experience in the field of microgravity, life sciences, and medical treatment and research on this, common research on this field, and we will continue this. And we had meetings during this Congress with our partners of China, and I think we have a good fundament, and we will continue. I personally would very much like that we can be a partner in the Chinese space station with German instruments and for scientific exploitation. And as you mentioned, the good basis for cooperation, and you mentioned as well, this sports and scientists, they can be the pacemaker for international cooperation, political cooperation. And so we should see our role.
Well, thank you very much. And I'd also like to ask Dr. Zhang, and as we understand, the EBSCO was established in 2008 with its headquarters in Beijing. And what kind of advantages or opportunities you are going to take to expand the international cooperation, particularly with yours, EBSCO as a platform?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Since the EBSCO is mainly we defined in the Asian Pacific region, but the difficult for us is difficult to define what the Asian Pacific is too large. But the better advantage is that EBSCO is fully open to any countries. So in the membership level, we're talking about the full member, we have 9 now, and also one EBSCO. But the other side is much more important is on the project. So we have the project, and we have the education training, and also we have the symposiums. We're already taking more interested countries on this platform, like the Mexico, like the Laos, and also Brazil and Chile. They're all interested on the project. So we're taking different opportunities to talking about to join the project only and to getting mutual benefit on this platform. And also, I think it's much important for the talent program for any space countries. Since our organization is only the China is the spacefaring countries, we think that. but most of the countries, they are mainly interested on their talent. So they join our education training program, especially on the master, doctor star, the level. So that potentially will be getting the capacity building for any countries. So we are already taking the non-members like law and also some Ukraine, they join our training programs. So APSCO is fully opened, and also we hope all interested country can join us since we're based on the Chinese and also the interested country on this foundation. Also Chinese government gives very specially benefited on the scholarship, and also now our new chairman, Mr. Ma Xingrui, they bring that new donations on the remote sensing satellite data. Where recently we signed an agreement with Chinese CNF. They are donated newly 7 satellite data on this platform, including the new launched SG-9 and also the GF1, GF2, and the future Cyber satellite. So it's very good resources sharing opportunities. So welcome you all join us. Thank you.
So actually it's Asia Pacific based, but with a global vision.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Naturally.
I'd like to ask Professor Wu a question about deep space exploration. And as we continue to push forward this program, China, and launching Moon's service matters. So any kind of major space science project plan for the next decade or so?
Yes, we have. I think we have talked a lot. Also, yesterday and today, I have mentioned a little bit about Mars. And China is studying a new Mars mission now. It's not ready to propose to the government, but we have a very intensive study for new Mars mission. And we are also in the science program. We are also flying away from the Earth to the solar polar orbit. So there are a lot of new missions. But I think the time is limited, so I will not go into the details. I would like to answer questions. Maybe we have talked too much.
Okay, thank you very much. Probably I will ask you one last question, then I'll give the opportunity to the audience. What kind of obstacles you anticipate will be there between the foreign partners' cooperation with the Chinese partners? I'm sure all of you have very wonderful, successful stories in cooperation with China. But I'm sure, and there are some also difficulties or obstacles, particularly in looking into the future. What are the obstacles you are going to identify as the efforts we must working on to pave the way to working with China in the future?
May I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I can tell a very real example. When we have double star mission collaborated with ESA, there are payload coming provided from European countries, and we have to spend at least nearly 1 year. The European partners has to change their component because some of the components are ITAR controlled. So this is a big issue to block the collaboration. And they have to make it ITAR free. So I think this is a major blocks even for science collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's anyone like to?
Transfer of technology is certainly a major problem, which you can see. As I said, China is not anymore a developing country; it's a developed country, and in particular in high technology. And their transfer of technology, ITAR, but also European rules. The Wassenaar Agreement, for example, you know that the rubidium clocks, which are on Baidu, are on the Wassenaar list, and so are sensitive material, and therefore this will certainly be one of the major obstacles, not only with China, but in international cooperation.
Well, thank you very much, and any of you?
Yes, maybe I can touch on this subject too. Although we have not yet experienced this ITAR problem because our satellites were from the start designed to be ITAR free and European export rules free. I would point out that we already started to discuss with some Chinese subsidiaries of CAST about Chinese providing us components. So this is definitely something that can be now considered for to overcome this problem, I would say.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a reporter from China Central Television English News Channel CCC program. And lately, China's first astronaut Yang Liwei said that China is more than willing to provide training services for foreign astronauts and look forward to working with them. So I was wondering, what's your take on that? And what do you think are the challenges and difficulties, and what are the way out? This is the first big question. And the second one is that China's rapid aerospace development has generated some breakthroughs in certain aspects. And will this cause competition with foreign aerospace enterprises? And from that, in what cooperation approach can China and foreign partners achieve mutual benefits and win-win results? Thank you very much.
So very good. Two questions. Yes.
Okay. It's very interesting the questions, and I'm interested on the first. The Chinese space management this kind of the program on some other nations for the astronauts. So we're already discussed and started that for the proposals from our member state to changing the astronauts' future, taking the Chinese opportunities. So I think that will be very good future in how to use the Chinese space managed program using the neighbor country, at least the nation, Asian areas, and then the other countries. All of the member states interested on that already. I don't think any difficulties on that. Just Chinese, they are already opened that opportunity, so we're taking some programs step by step.
Just add one follow-up question. We know that we have facing some obstacles to the National Station program. What do you think is the way out that to help us to further the international cooperation?
It's the mainly in this process is to taking some knowledge increasing and the capacity building for the young people. Even they could not be finally the astronauts, but they're interested on the process, and also they're getting the further interesting for the other space programs. That's mainly proposed. Since, as we all know, even the United States, even the Russian, they couldn't taking any countries for share that opportunities. But in terms of the process, they're increasing their interest on the space future. So that could be very efficient and benefited to all countries. Not target is not astronauts, but the process is important, especially for young people.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yes.
Professor.
Yes, may I say a few words following your question? I think I'm really happy to hear that the Chinese Manned Space Agency has opened the door to international collaborations. I think vice versa, we would like to see ISS to open the door to Chinese. So that will be a great approach because they can cross-visit to each other, and people can talking about the docking system, because the technical system to dock different modulars between each other is very important, and we have to solve the technical problems first, and then so I really would like to see if there are any action from the ISS organization.
Well, that's pretty good idea. So we'll try to make a one-way traffic to double-way, two-way traffic, right? And when I think of the obstacles, I usually come to mind because I had the opportunity to work in the Chinese embassy in Washington. So the U.S. export control always come to my mind as maybe one of the factors to affect the international cooperation. So I'd like to ask Mr. Hu a question. Particularly, you are doing the commercial activities. The United States actually, the export control this year affected some Chinese commercial space cooperation to some degree, of course. And in such a situation, what is your take on the future of the international commercial cooperation of China and Europe and maybe other countries?
It is a really tricky question. In my opening remarks, I talk about the barriers or the obstacles which existed between the cooperation between China and the foreign countries. Actually, for our commercial activities, we are really negatively affected by the U.S. ITA control. You know, we have, I'd say, good products, particularly launch services. We want to provide our launch services to all customers all over the world. But nowadays, the fact is, in our industry, many of the participants, they rely on the supply to somewhat the components from the U.S. But many of these components are on the ITA list. Even for the cooperation between China and Europe, we are not able to do it sometimes without the ITA. I mean, we have to subject to the ITA control. This is really the headache for us. But I think it's the political issue. It's not a technical issue. It's a political issue. So for the political issue, Chinese government and U.S. government are interacting for many years. This issue still remain there. I think the audience also asked a question about the competition, this kind of issue. I think from some U.S. government officials' perspective, they believe China is a competitor, strategic competitor. So they take some measures, just want to constrain the development of China's space industry. But from the past experiences, I would say this policy is not effective because China's space has been growing very fast. Even there is ITA restriction. So I think the policymakers in Washington, they should realize the fact that China will develop, whether with the help or without the help of the U.S. And also I think in the future there will be more space programs in China, particularly like China's own space station. We all understand that beyond 2020, the fate of international space station may not be determined. So there are intentions from many countries to continue this kind of space experiment on board.
Warm welcome to this global networking forum. And let me say a few words about myself. And my name is Ran Zhongze. Currently, I'm a Vice President and Senior Research Fellow at China Institute of International Studies, which is a research think tank. I used to be a diplomat. I've been working in London and Washington for some time. Why I become the moderator of this morning? Because it's very simple. I know nothing about this subject. And I think we will have about 2 hours to go. And let me also first give you a little background on how this section we're going to talk about. China's space industry has experienced a very rapid development in recent years. There are many more and more activities, space programs undergoing in China, and more efforts are made in the area of manned space flight and deep space exploration. In addition to civil and commercial space activities, this will bring more opportunities for people from different countries to work and cooperate with the Chinese partners. Facing the financial challenges all over the world, cooperation in space area is becoming more realistic, implementing big projects with no immediate economic benefits. This section basically will address the issues relevant to the cooperation between foreign and the Chinese partners. What is the current status of cooperation, and what challenges we have met during the process? What opportunities in particular will emerge in the future, and how to materialize and grab them? What needs to be done for a win-win cooperation between foreign and the Chinese partners. I guess these are the main issues we are going to address for this morning's session. And of course, we are extremely fortunate to have a bunch of very distinguished panelists for this morning. And on my left is Dr. Grupi. Yeah, just learned your pronunciation. I hope I made it right. He's a member of the executive board, DLR. And on my further left is Mr. Austin. He's a chairman of the board, International Space University. On my far left is Guinea Ru. He's the Chief Systems Manager, Luxembourg Space. And of course, on my right is Mr. Zhang Wei. He's the Secretary General of APSCO, Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. And on my further right is Professor Wu Ji. He's the Director General, National Space Science Center, China Academy of Sciences. And on my far right is Mr. Fu Ziheng. He's the Vice President of China Great Wall Industry Corporation. And I would like to conduct the discussion this way. I'll allocate about 10 minutes for each panelist to give their presentation. And after that, we'll straight head to the discussion. And you are also most welcome to raise your questions after that. So may I invite Mr. Grupi for the presentation. And you have 10 minutes.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. And first, to be the first speaker on this morning session here, and for the invitation to talk to this extraordinary audience and to talk in this high-ranking panel. But last not least, thank you very much for to the organizers who postponed this meeting for 1 hour so that I can join this. Yesterday evening, I joined the plenary session at 7 p.m. and I was very impressed by the presentations of the Chinese partners, and I thought they are talking about future. And I think that the Chinese-German cooperation, they can be part of this future. And I loved yesterday the atmosphere of departure, which was created by these Chinese speakers, and the spirit of optimism of these Chinese speakers. And I loved to join them. In my opinion, it was to lay more effort on this German-Chinese cooperation, and I saw yesterday that we are invited to do so. With other words, I'm very happy to be today here and talk about this subject. But first of all, I would give you a short presentation about about Germany and its space industry and space research. And I start with I just would like to give you an impression what the German DLR as German Space Agency, what is their job and what type of jobs do we carry out. First is we are defining the German space planning. That means we give the ministry support to develop their strategy, and we are the only one who is responsible for the implementation of this strategy to Germany and in contact to ESA, the European Space Agency. Space projects. That means consultancy, funding decisions and technology transfer. And these different tasks, and we are very proud of this opportunity that we could be a partner with you. And for this project shows the Chinese-German partnership is in an excellent way. The Chinese partners led the mission, are the lead, and implemented the hardware, and the German partners delivered the Simbox incubator and the experiment hardware. 17 experiments were made, half of them from China, half of them from Germany, and 2 mixed projects. Especially our scientists from the different universities and research entities could profit from this special project. It's my deepest conviction that only first-class inputs from both sides bring real success and benefits for international partnership. And that is what both sides have done on the Simbox project. And another success factor that in a good partnership, both sides agreed on common rules. And this, we had clear responsibilities in the project, and it was always clear who is in the lead and who is a follower, and it was a very, very successful cooperation, and we appreciate it very much. I would like to try a little forecast if I have a little bit of time.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes.
All right. First, about the German and Chinese cooperation perspective. We already have a long-lasting partnership, and our cooperation is strong because it focuses on special abilities of both partners. And therefore, I see a consistency in this scientific collaboration. Basis of all collaboration is a merger of national capabilities. And DLR promotes the principle of no exchange of funds. That means the German side is paying for the German activities in this project, and the Chinese partners are paying for their activities. And as our experience is that China is a reliable partner in all phases of a common project. And hopefully, a further step will be the CSS, the Chinese space station, where we can cooperate and collaborate intensively, maybe in a second project like Simbox. So that's my short view to the future. And normally I'm the guy who is speaking too long, so now I've saved some minutes. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Grupi. Very much appreciate your kindness. You'll save us 2 minutes for more discussion later on. And I'm particularly impressed by the keywords cooperation. And this is extremely important. And I'm also wearing another hat. I'm serving as the UNDP Human Development Report Panel, Advisory Panel. I represent China, so I know how important to mobilize all the resources worldwide to cooperate. So we will discuss it later on. Thank you again, I appreciate it. And the next speaker will be Osterning, and the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? Yes? My view graphs are not very fancy because there was a last minute change, and it was only decided yesterday that I would participate in this meeting. I have been working for more than 30 years in ESA as particular director of the Galileo program, which is we work very close together with China, but I'm here today more as the chairman of the board of trustees of IAC, the International Space University. So I will focus on that. And the title is IAC as Catalyst for International Cooperation. Now, when we see through the conditions for win-win cooperation, what I'm saying looks obvious. First, that the partners should know exactly what is expected from them. But in reality, even on national side, it's always easy to know exactly what each partner should do. And when you are in an international cooperation, in particular a complex one with a country like China, where the culture is different, it's not so easy. And therefore it's very important when you start cooperation that you know exactly on a certain project what is expected for one partner and the other partner, meaning the specifications should be correct and understood. The second very important point is execution of cooperation should be done in good faith. And that's something very important, because good faith means also that when you start cooperating, you should remain within the framework of the cooperation. And the partner should not be tempted to go beyond this. You will have access to know-how and so on, and you should limit your cooperation to what has been agreed. And this is something very important. And this is not just between Europe and China. This applies equally between Europe and the United States, or between Europe and Japan. It's a very important element, because engineers and scientists are always tempted to go beyond what has been agreed, and that can lead to problems. Now, for that, a number of elements are necessary. First of all, very important when you have a cooperation, a program, the number of interfaces should be limited. There is a danger, and I've seen this in certain cooperative programs, that there are too many interfaces, meaning that everything goes wrong. So you need a number of interfaces which are limited. But those interfaces should be empowered that they can take decisions. Again, I have seen with some countries that those interfaces are not empowered, meaning that you start discussing, you come to an agreement, a certain solution, technical solution, and then those people must report back to others, meaning that there is a delay, there is a change again of specifications. So this also, lessons learned is you should have minimum interfaces, and people have the power to take decisions, of course, within certain limits. Then those interfaces, of course, are people. They should have skills, and in particular skills for intercultural relations. And what I'm saying here also skills for system engineering, between brackets. I'm saying this because if you empower somebody in an interface, he must have a system engineering output saying whatever decision I will take, I must take into account all my other interfaces, what will be the impact. I'm not just saying I'm looking to my own field, I take a decision, I don't care about cost, I don't care of delays in the projects and so on. So this is a very important element. And then there should be a high level of trust between the partners and in particular between the interfaces. Now, ISU, International Space University, which exists since 25 years, has been set up exactly for that purpose, to have an approach which is international, interdisciplinary, and intercultural. As just Mr. Cooper was saying, the most effective way of learning to work together is with scholarships and so on. But of course, this is a limited number of possibilities. In ISU, what we try to do is put people together. And I can tell you this is very important when you work together on a project. Even in ISA, where we have so many member states, I have seen very often misunderstandings. Because when a Finnish guy talks to somebody from South Italy, they have a totally different approach to problems. The culture is different, and therefore already there, it's difficult to understand each other. And you need, by time you work together, you will learn this. Now you can imagine when you work together with a country like China, or Japan, or India, or Russia, that this is not so easy. And in ISA, for example, we have supported the ISU exactly to increase the potential worldwide of people to work together. And we have now today more than 3,500 alumni. So you will see here, I will not go to the text, this interdisciplinary element is really what I was saying about system engineering approach, that the students there will learn in all fields something, and then they will work together. It's a 9-week program, they will work together for a certain project. And through working in a team, they understand the problems between the different cultural approaches. International, well, it's logic, and then intercultural. When I'm saying international, the next view graph shows you everything in red means that we have alumni from those countries, meaning we have more than 100 countries alumni. Unfortunately, Africa, there's still a lot of white there, but you see Asia is almost fully covered. Missing is only a few countries there, and in South America as well. Meaning that we have a large network of alumni, and that's something very interesting. If you have a problem, you can call one of your former students or colleagues and say, well, I have a problem. And I have seen this over now the 25 years, this happens very often. If I go to a certain country, I will call always some of the alumni and say, I'll just go there, can you tell me something about that country and the way they approach problems. The next slide, it's just a short view, it's not all the alumni, but it shows, for example, that China is now the 4th country as far as alumni is concerned. So China is a strong partner now in ISU, either for the master program, which is a 1-year program, the summer program, which is a 9-week program. So China is so the first one is the United States, the second one is Canada, third one is France, then you have China, and then Japan. Just to show you, because you cannot read it because it's too long. So you see the strongest one is the United States, then Canada, France, China, Japan. And so we have, as I said, the program which is a master's, it's a 1 year. We have a 9-week summer program, which takes place every year elsewhere. Next year will be in Montreal. The year thereafter will be in the United States. And then we have also a Southern Hemisphere program, which China is also participating, which takes place in Australia for the 4th time this year, next year in January in Adelaide. Now, just the conclusions now. I think that the skills for working together is not something that you acquire automatically. You must either do it by scholarships as a possibility, or by following certain courses and be exposed to such environment. And I'm coming to China now for 25 years, more than 25 years. I have been involved in negotiating many cooperative programs, and in particular on the Galileo program. And I've seen over the years a shift. When China changed from a developed country to a developed country. And I must say that when we in ESA, I'm saying as ESA, when we go to a certain country like China, or Japan, Russia, and so on, we receive from our International Relations Department a briefing on what are the different ways, culture, and so on in that country, so that we better know how to approach each other. And I think that what I've seen over the years, that this is maybe something which is lacking with some Chinese counterparts. And in particular, I've seen this over the last years, that they do not always realize the perception outside China from China. China is not anymore seen as a developing country. China is seen as a competitor. It's a threat for some people. And therefore, I think it would be very good also that on the Chinese side, there would be an effort to understand how China is seen from one side. Because I think that over the years, things have changed, and this is lacking. And that's one of my thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Ostenik. I'm particularly impressed by how much efforts you have put successfully to establish the global network for the.
What Dr. Gruppe and Dr. Osterling have put forth. The very first thing is that China is a very ancient civilization, and this is percolating in every part of the life. Therefore, if you want to work with Chinese, you must understand also their civilization. And all what has been said so far by Dr. Gruppe, from a very practical point of view, like type shift, language barrier, is extremely true. And what I said, Dr. Osterling, is that about project management is that you need clearly very few interfaces, but those very few interfaces must be empowered, as he accurately pointed out, and must work also at a very high data rate, I would say. So, after this very high level flight that have been presented so far, I'm going to talk about our very down-to-earth experience. Next slide, please. So, the background is that my company, the company for which I work, is a very pretty recent company. It was founded in 2005. And we were very small. When I arrived in the company, we were only 6. So we had a target, which definitely was to enter the micro-satellite market niche. So we had to show credibility and gain confidence with our subcontractors, but also with the launch operators. And to gain confidence, we started also to establish contacts with several launch operators and China Great Wall amongst them. And that's a very important point when I started my presentation, to say that China is a very ancient civilization. Well, those 4 years we spent talking with them were also a very important way to be introduced, to learn all they were doing, and to also show them what we wanted to do and how we will do it, and how we shall do that. This was also a kind of training to improve communication, to learn dealing with the time shift, learn dealing with the language barrier, because, well, the Chinese are over 1 billion people, and far from them are speaking, a lot of them are not speaking English. So you must really put a lot of attention to that, because otherwise incomprehension can very rapidly grow, and we put a lot of care to that. Then we discussed a lot of requirements and launch, what could be done, and so on. Of course, so this was opening paths and paving ways for a real launch. Next slide, please. So, the project itself, we already launched 2 satellites before, but these were 2 very small satellites. Then in 2010 we had a contract for 2 satellites, so 2 additional ones, to be manufactured and launched within 2 years. We set up the target to meet the requirements of the customer at 30 kilograms, 50 centimeter side, including protrusion, so this was not very big satellites. We started the preparatory work in 2010, definition, and we started discussions for a launch with China Great Wall, a real launch with China Great Wall at this time. We signed the contract in September 2010, and the launch was planned for end 2011, so very short delay. And it is to be pointed out that at this time, China has not launched piggyback satellites for more than 10 years. So this was something very new and not, because China had already worked with other launch operators as main passengers. Here we had a lot of work to perform. First, to convince the main passengers that we were serious, and we got a lot of help. We also needed to accommodate with what orbit was given to us and what launch accommodation was given to us too. And we got also a lot of help there. And all the preparatory work that has been performed the years before was extremely helpful. Next slide, please. So we set up the contract around February 2011, and we identified a launch opportunity for the second satellite in December 2011 on March 4 from Taiwan Satellite Launch Center. The first satellite was launched in September 2011 on the Indian PSLV. We arranged the final details in August 2011 with China Great Wall and SAS Shanghai. And this was including the design, manufacture and qualification of the adapter and the launch and the separation system. So you see that the delay was very short. So they were nevertheless designed, manufactured and qualified by October in an extremely satisfying way. The ICD and mission analyses were approved end of November 2011. We shipped the satellite on the 10th of December 2011. All the handling and customs were taken care of by China Great Wall. The team arrived at Taiwan on the 24th of December, so with everything taken care of by China Great Wall also. This was including pre-arrival to the launch site with some entertainment in Beijing. Thank you, Mr. Fu. And we had the perfect level of service. So far in my career, I have experience with 3 launch operators and complete satellite launch campaign with Arianespace, with ISRO, with China Great Wall, and clearly this China Great Wall competes perfectly with Arianespace on this point of view. The satellite integration was fully performed on the 27th of December, so in only 2 days, and the launch was performed on the 10th of January 2012. This mission was a success. Next slide, please. So we had the launch. Here on the top right, you can see the satellite, which was accommodated on top of the tank of the last stage with the core adapter, the separation system, and this was put inside the main passenger core. Here you have an animation, but it doesn't start. It's not a problem, where we had a lot of simulations performed by SAS, showing the worst case passing through of the satellite passing through the main cone opening. And this is now our satellites, our 2 satellites are in orbit for 2 years, no, almost 2 years. And this is a daily result in maritime surveillance, so we provide data all around the world from private and government organization and international organization. And those 2 satellites are doing this job very perfectly. Actually, we are competitors for those who have not yet understood with exactors. Next slide, please. So a close view of the satellite after integration, and the transport container from the integration room to the launcher. So this was designed and manufactured by China Great Wall for this special purpose. So we experienced during this launch campaign and the previous years everything that has been pointed out by Dr. Gruber and Dr. Osterling. So I cannot but recommend you that you follow exactly their advice, and it is really valuable. You must learn, you must understand, you must make sure that your interfaces are working properly, And the people you put at the interfaces must really have the system overview, the full engineering system engineering overview, and the power to change things. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Professors Ri and the Chinese partner. So thank you so much. And now the next speaker will be Dr. Zhang Wei, please.
More information you can get that, and also we have the exhibition booth just next to this school. So I invite all of you to visit us after the forum. So APSCO, Asian Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. I will follow some topics here. Introduction is the background mainly. We actually started very earlier for the motivation stages, things back to the 1992. At that time, the Chinese government did especially the conference with Asian countries, and suggested we better to organize the mechanisms in the international cooperation in space areas. So after that, 2005, the 8 countries named Bangladesh, China, Indonesia, Iran, Mongolia, Pakistan, Peru, and Thailand, they signed the convention. That means the formally government approved they organized the intergovernmental international organization in the space cooperation area. So that's typically the model. And also at that time we were told that we are second organization intergovernmental in the worldwide. The first we all know well is the IAC. So APSCO at that time is the second mechanism. That we mean that intergovernmental entity in the organization. It's not meeting, not forum mechanism. And after the signing, Turkey also joined 1 year later. So now,
and then you are free. You can do the job for sure. It complicates your job, but certainly you can get out of it. And ultimately, I would say, even though we have not done this, we are in the process now of investigating this thing. You can even rely on Chinese components. The IAC, for example, they have a wonderful catalog. You could almost buy your satellite kit by just picking up the pieces. This could work, for sure. Of course, this is not anymore your business, this becomes the IAC business, of course. So it's a balance to find. But you have solutions. And I would urge you, unless you really want to use super duper technology, that you don't be much troubled by this.
Thank you, Professor Group.
Thank you. Of the US, of their own country. We in Germany, we have similar rules. Similar, not the same. For instance, I think we have quite good technologies in robotics and Earth observation. And some of these technologies we will not export at the moment. And I think it's one of the rules, if you want to cooperate between countries, that everybody respects the laws and the system of the other country. And in ESA, we train this every day. It's not so easy, and I think that in the Asian Pacific area, it's even also not so easy to understand the partners, their culture, their way to proceed, and how to manage projects. So you ask the question, are we competitors? And I think we can only say yes, we are competitors. But space is such a wonderful branch or area where we can cooperate in the field of science. And the scientists are eager to cooperate because they learn from each other. And we can, as states, cooperate in developing technologies to push the frontiers, and as economies we compete to get a bigger share of the market. And so I think all these elements you have, and I think it's a wonderful basis for cooperation.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to invite the audience for the questions. The gentleman, the third row, yes, please.
For simplification and making rationalization of the system within this area, or maybe to definition with success of Chinese space program, maybe to define other rules for the world. This is my question.
To any of the specific panelists or just for general? Yeah.
Space science. There has been collaboration in space for over 50 years, so there is an enormous amount of experience. It is, of course, different with each partner, but there is enormous experience. And I just wanted to make that comment. My question relates to science. We've heard from Professor Wu Ji, who I think should take a lot of credit for the tremendous collaboration on cluster and double star. These were wonderful examples. But I'm going to raise a contrary example, which I think for scientists has been disappointing. The Chinese lunar program, Chang'e. We've seen 2 very successful missions and a third one due to be launched soon. I believe it's true to say there has been 0.
Chang'e 1 and Chang'e 2. And I think on Chang'e 3, it's turned to more or less a commercial support. So this is what the agreement between China and the ESA. And on the science part, particularly for Chang'e 1 and Chang'e 2, because ESA provided no money exchange support for the TT&C, for the telemetry and telecontrol. So China, as a return, China is providing measurement data to ESA as a return. So I saw a CD which is copied with all the data transferred to ESA with my naked eye. So I don't know the details how the data is used, but I do know that there are data transferred to ESA, and how the science team are collaborating each other, the details I don't know.
Well, thank you very much. Since time is approaching to the end, and Professor Ostanik had to leave a little earlier, and probably I'll give an opportunity to Professor Ostanik to see any of the final thoughts about this subject.
There were some questions in the
Just about Chang'e. In fact, it was a collaboration between ESA and China. In fact, I was involved in this on the negotiations, in particular on the TT&C. And in fact, they used our own moon satellite just to test the signals to be sent to Chang'e. And in fact, I was invited to the launch for this mission. So there was some cooperation, but maybe we could improve it in the future. No, just because unfortunately I'm asleep, because my participation was not foreseen here. I must say that this was very useful, and I'm rather confident that we will cooperate more. But as I said, there is always this problem of transfer of technology. Easier for science, but even for science, space technology becomes double-use technology, and that's one of the main problems we will face in the future. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Ostanik. And maybe with your permission, the rest of the panelists, because I do saw some hands raised up. I don't want you to disappoint them. Probably we'll give another 10 minutes, then we'll answer 1 or 2 more questions.
Or leading roles, but they only do their best to compete and to donate it to the neighbor countries. Since in Asian areas, even these areas, we have the APSCO, and also we have the APRSA joined by other countries, and also we have the other mechanisms. So they all have the platform to exchanging the knowledges in the space areas, but they have the different function and different profit for the participating countries. So I think it's a good situation. It's not like the Europe is for getting ore, but they have the 35 more years history already. Asian, they just started that. So I think China will get especially contribution in this process. And also it's in the later on, we're expecting from our APSCO side, China is the only one, the spacefaring countries in this organization. We're trying to let China to getting more functions to involve other participants to actually the program and to getting capacity building for their own and also to getting the multilateral corporate project. So in this way, we're getting the more contribution in these areas. But the later on, maybe it's a different mechanism, they have the different functions. That's our feeling. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Professor, would you have anything to add?
Yes, very briefly, I can say that my point is I'm working for space science. So for collaboration with Asian countries, because the nature of a large number of countries in Asian Pacific region are developing countries, so space science is something luxury. Like China, we have a long history since the 50s to develop space technology, and space science is a new area in Chinese space activities. So we have only recently we have double star, we have lunar project, and in the future we will have science satellite. So it's the same for India. India has a space application satellite, but for science satellite, it's new for India. They have Chandrayaan, and this year they probably will launch the first Mars mission. So the only exception country is Japan. Japan's space industry started with science. So Japan has a lot of experience on conducting science missions. So we are really looking forward to have a close collaboration with Japan on space science. Actually, we are learning the ways how they operate science, selected science missions, operating science missions. We are learning from them. But when we go into a close relation with Japan, there are some political reasons to block, because the U.S. space policy and Japanese space policy is very same as the U.S. space policy. So we have little difficulties now. But I'm sure in the future we will, when China continues opening up, we are very open to the Japanese scientists to join the space science missions in China.
Like as you mentioned about we had a cooperation last year is very wonderful, and what is the disadvantages, and what are the things we should change?
Very soon agree on the common project is all the life support for the space stations. I think there are competencies on both sides and we can join, and I think I dare to say there are no item problems. Yes. And another interesting point is, I'm sure, is robotics. The price is okay, the quality is okay. We will use all launch services which are offered to the market. And if you ask for ITER regulations on this field, I recommend to take the last slide of Mr. Fu. Who is who? When is the right point to go? And so on.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
I would say that
I'll have one. Thank you. Mr. Goodman.
Yeah, maybe three remarks. First, I enjoyed it very much to be here and to listen to your questions. Second is that space is a very young discipline. We are at the beginning of a development, and cooperation is essential for space activities. Economic cooperation, scientific cooperation, and cooperation between states. And I think one reason why ESA and EBSCO existed is that everybody sees the necessity for cooperation, for close cooperation. Maybe not in my life, maybe later, we will cooperate between ESA and EBSCO more intensely.
Sure, we expect that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rui.
So thank you for giving me the final word. Well, after all those also high-level consideration, I will stay at my small company level, and I would say and add that the Christmas turkey story was not a hotel commodity, but rather the proof that we pay each other respect and that we understood each other.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure you all have some difficulties, so why not we mobilize our resources and be a complementary cooperation. And as a final words, is as a student of international relations, I'm particularly interested in about this win-win cooperation. And you know, in last June, early June, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with US President Obama at Sunnyland in California. The two sides agreed to work on the new type of great power relationship. That is to say, this type of relationship is no longer confrontational, no longer conflict, but based on mutual respect and a cooperative partnership. So China-US relations is no longer, according to the two presidents, it's not a zero-sum game. So why not this space industry, space cooperation? I think we will work on much harder in order to make this new type of relationship come true. And that will serve the interest of all of us. Thank you very much. I appreciate your contribution and your wonderful questions. Of course, particularly, please give a big applause to our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much.
And a compliments to the moderator.
Thanks.